Good morning, Marijuana Nation. It's Monday, June 19th, 2017, and you're tuned in to episode 271 of Marijuana Today Daily. I'm your host, Shay Gunther, and I'll be walking you through today's marijuana news and headlines. As always, we have a full and busy day of cannabis news in our hands, so let's jump right into it. Our top story of the day is an incredibly tone-deaf and ill-informed essay published on Friday by the Washington Post that was written by U.S. Attorney General Jeff Sessions, in which he calls for a return to cracking down hard on crime by handing out draconian prison sentences to every offender possible. The Attorney General astoundingly blows right past the benefits of legalizing drugs like marijuana with his opening that points out that drug dealers don't have any legal mechanism to seek redress in disputes with customers and suppliers, leaving violence as their only option. This is an essay written by a man with his boot heel on the solution to a problem he's scanning the horizon for. Attorney General Sessions goes on to roll out more muddled thinking using cherry-picked stats peppered with patriotic pledges to make this country safe again. Considering Jeff Sessions' own well-publicized troubles with that whole Russian collusion thing, let's hope his time in office is short enough to minimize the damage that someone with this kind of philosophy to drug policy will wreak on this country. Swing over to the Washington Post if you have the stomach to stand it. On Friday, a new proposed bill was rolled out by the Massachusetts State Senate that returns the state tax for legal adult use marijuana back down to the 12% level that was passed by voters via ballot initiative in the fall. Regular listeners should remember the ongoing fight over that tax rate and other rules governing how adult use sales will work that have roiled the state in recent weeks, with the last proposed plan before this one suggesting a rate of 28%. The other big issue dealt with in the plan proposed on Friday by State Senator Patricia Jalen would give the power of approving marijuana business licenses over to local voters instead of town and municipal boards and councils as previously recommended in the House measure. We'll track this one as it develops. Our final top story this fine Monday brings us up northeast to Vermont, where state lawmakers will return to session later this week to address a number of leftover legislative issues, including the Phoenix-like bill to legalize some form of adult use marijuana. This story is well familiar to regular listeners by now, with the current situation putting the ball in the court of state lawmakers after Governor Phil Scott sent back their counterproposal with a list of changes that he'd need to see before signing off. Both sides have expressed hope and confidence in getting a bill passed, so we'll report back later this week as things roll out in the Green Mountain State. Those are our top stories for today. It's time for Marijuana Today Daily Headlines Blitz. Before we blitz on headlines, let's quickly thank our sponsor, MJ Today Media, the publishers of this podcast, our weekly show Marijuana Today, and the MJ Today Media newsfeed, the most comprehensive daily collection of industry headlines around. Our ever-growing audience is the best in the legal marijuana industry and is easy to reach with any number of sponsorship options available. Make the best marketing decision of your year by emailing advertising@mjtodaydaily.com to learn more about what we can do for your legal marijuana business, service, or product. Once again, that's advertising@mjtodaydaily.com. All right, time for the Blitz. The Edmonton Journal has a good story up that you should click over for the full read on the official groundbreaking ceremony held on Friday to mark the ceremonial start of construction of a marijuana cultivation facility that will eventually be capable of churning out more than 220,000 pounds of marijuana a year. The so-called Aurora Sky facility, owned by Canadian licensed medical marijuana provider Aurora Cannabis, is located right next to the Edmonton International Airport and will be completely built out by summer of next year, though it will have limited capacity by the end of this year. When complete, the cultivation site will be more than 800,000 square feet in size and provide 200 to 300 new local jobs. Hawaiian medical marijuana dispensary Maui Grown Therapies has announced that they should be cleared to sell medical marijuana to patients by July 17th, assuming the state gets around to certifying a testing lab and tying up a few other last remaining approvals. The company will sell to patients by appointment only to start and will have flower, tincture, oils, and capsules available. While there are no guarantees that the state will clear the way for that to happen in time, Health Department spokeswoman Janice Okubu did tell Maui News that she thought it, quote, sounds reasonable. A proposed state Senate bill in California would allow for legal marijuana companies to get temporary permits to sell marijuana at fairgrounds, potentially paving the way for what Hezekiah Allen, the head of the Cannabis Growers Association, characterizes as beer gardens, but for cannabis. Senate Bill 94 allows businesses to get temporary licenses to set up separate areas where customers of age could consume marijuana purchased on site. We'll certainly follow this one up as it develops. The LA Times is warning its readers that even as the state of Nevada works to legalize adult use marijuana, the city of Las Vegas remains very much stuck in the prohibitionist past, driven by the large casino interests scared of losing the federal gaming licenses that keep them awash in gambling profits. Starting on July 1st, visitors to the state of Nevada will be able to purchase adult use marijuana from medical dispensaries, but those from away will find few legal places to consume it, with the only legislatively protected consumption space being in people's private homes. This is a good one to click over for the full read. As always, we have all the news we cover linked to on our website at mjtodaydaily.com and on our Twitter account at mjtodaydaily. Swinging out west to Oregon, we have news of a marijuana company sponsoring a popular horse race at the Grants Pass Down racetrack. Oregon licensed marijuana grower BJSA Grade covered 60% of the $10,000 total purse of the Grants Pass Mile race in exchange for a number of sponsorship considerations. This is one of those stories that speaks to the ever-changing status of marijuana in modern society, with a spokesperson for the racetrack saying of the sponsorship, quote, "It's a different ballgame. It's now legal. We welcome them with open arms," unquote. On Friday, the state of Pennsylvania released a list of the 400 or so companies that have applied for one of the 12 cultivation permits that will be handed out by the state by the end of this month. Click over to TRIB Live for the full read on this one, as well as to find a link to the list of all the applicants. Our final story of the day has us wrapping up in Tennessee, where the state will appoint a committee of lawmakers to study the question of legalizing medical marijuana. The committee is a result of a bill passed in February that calls upon it to hold 3 public hearings on the matter before submitting a report to the General Assembly in January. We'll check back on this one as developments warrant. Those are the headlines and news for the day. I'll be back with you again tomorrow morning with another information-packed episode of Marijuana Today Daily. But in the meantime, if you have any stories to share or feedback to give, zip us an email to headlines@mjtodaydaily.com. And while you're clicking around the interwebs, swing over to our Twitter account at mjtodaydaily and visit our website at mjtodaydaily.com to find links to all the news we cover. Thanks to our sponsor, MJ Today Media, and to all of our awesome Patreon listeners for the support that makes this show possible. To join the illustrious ranks of the Patreon listeners yourself, swing over to our website at mjtodaydaily.com and click on that big blue button at the top of the page that says Become a Patron. I'm your host, Shay Gunther. Thanks for tuning in and starting your day with Marijuana Today.
One take, Shay. One take.